Hey guys, Dark Humility here. You can always catch me streaming Diablo 2 usually 7 days a week at www.twitch.tv/Dark Humility. Guys, today we have another guide for under PD2 Guides, Season 2 Hardcore Poison Necro. A hardcore Poison Necro. Yeah, I'll say that again. A hardcore Poison Necro with blood warp draining your life. Believe it or not, it's not as crazy as it seems, but you're definitely going to need some insanely solid gear. Otherwise, it's probably not going to work. We're going to go over all that, of course. We're going to start by going over the LOD areas that he excels at, like always. Honestly, this build can be a little sketchy in LOD areas, and a lot of LOD areas I don't think it's probably necessary, but he's pretty solid in a lot of them, so we'll definitely check that out. And then we will do maps, 4 maps, just to show you guys how strong he is in general. There's 4 maps in particular that he's pretty darn strong at. We have 1 of each tier. We also have 2 tier 3s. So, believe it or not, River of Blood and Throne of Insanity are actually his best maps, and they're tier 3s. So, I know for most builds, their best maps are like tier 1s or tier 2s in terms of clear speed. In this case, it is not the case. They just don't have any poison immunes, and their monster HP isn't very high in those 2 areas, so he can destroy them. So, we'll start by going over those areas, maps, and then we'll do stats, skills, and gear. And then we'll talk about kind of, how he compares overall. Keep in mind, this is an S tier build. If you check out my tiers guide on YouTube from Season 2, the first video I made, you can see that he is one of the strongest builds in the game for endgame clear speed efficiency. Mostly because of what he's able to do in maps. So this character is pretty nuts. He's a little dangerous in hardcore, but he's pretty nuts. So hopefully we don't die in the making of this video. Otherwise, GG. Like with most builds, we start in the pit. Why? Because most builds can do the pit really well. You might notice this is a trend. So, I'm pretty low there. It's okay. Normally, you don't really want to do this on the way to the pit because it just drains your full juice. But, so be it. Alright, so, Blood Warp with almost 0 cooldown is pretty insane, right? If you get it down to 0.2 or 0 cooldown, you can feel it. Like, it's pretty much instantaneous, but it drains your life. As you can see that, it probably made some people anxious already in the chat. That's how it works. That's how it works. But you might notice that my life is refilling very quickly when I kill monsters. That's because of the large amount of life per kill on my build. Life per kill is an essential stat for this build. And as much as you can possibly get is probably a very solid idea for maintaining your health. The more life per kill you have, the less you need to rely on only killing super dense monster packs, and the more less density you can kill more effectively. In terms of high density, this character thrives because of life per kill. When you kill tons of enemies, you might notice that my health just heals right back up. There are no poison immunes in the pit though, so that makes the pit very solid. I'm using bone armor and I'm using revives. Some kind of tanking monsters besides your mercenary is highly advised here because you're going to be jumping to into the beehive, so to speak, into the crow's nest, jumping everywhere. You are going to be picked to death if you don't have at least some more meat shields besides your mercenary, I feel like. Especially if your mercenary goes down in one shot. They're more to protect your mercenary than you, to some extent. This is going to be very important. What's up, homie? Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the Bull Xander's Day. His name is Homie, guys. Good. Runes just started to drop to me yesterday. John now Cham, nice. You know, those are good runes. It's too bad those are not the most valuable runes right now, right? So as you can see, with insane mobility and insane damage on Poison Nova, the pit stands no chance, especially in Players 1. That being said, using your mobility to get there insanely fast might not be the best idea, as you're going to have to glug some potions. So, just kind of wanted to show you what it looks like when my life is draining and whatnot. Yeah, we have max block, we got bone armor, we have revives as tanks, we even put points into bone armor synergies to increase the power of bone armor. We did max out all the poison skills though, we maxed out blood warp. We will go over the skills of course at the end. There are some different things you can do with the build for sure, depending on if you're playing softcore or hardcore or how you're playing the build. I will describe that soon though. Anyway, so because blood warp drains your life like that, I wouldn't recommend doing teleport key farms, but he's also not good at non-teleport key farms because he doesn't have any movement speed buffs. So I would kind of stay away from key farming on this character overall. I'd also stay away from boss farming because he can kill bosses fairly quickly with Poison Explosion. However... oh yeah, by the way, I just realized that my farm info panel wasn't on. What the heck?! Yeah, I turned that off for the craft session earlier. Alright, there you go. Now you guys can see all the stats on the screen as well, above the potions and above the XP bar. Excellent. Alright. Anyway, you can destroy the monsters with, not Poison Explosion, sorry, Desecrate. I'm sorry, they changed the name of it in this mod because it also spawns corpses, which you can use to revive revives. And of course to use Corpse Explosion as well, but we're not using Corpse Explosion. So you might notice the damage is very high in general, but unless you want to be constantly having to teleport and then kill monsters to sustain your way to Endario or Mephisto and whatnot, it's probably not worth doing boss farming on him either. So really the only area I'd probably go in Act 1 would probably be the pit, but another area that's probably really solid on this build is the Secret Cal level. You don't want to drain life as fast and you want to give your life some chance to recover because it auto-recovers in Season 2 now when you use Blood Warp. So long as you're not constantly spamming it. If you spam it, it can't recover, so you have to use like life for kill or you have to use potions. So it's pretty much your only two options. You're not doing life leech with this build, so life leech isn't going to do anything. Alright, so let's go kill normal cows just to show you a little taste of what this character does when it comes to really high density. So the normal secret cow level I would say is, you really can't go wrong with this thing. Alright, so... Ooh, damn, that's not good at all. If you roll 3 sockets on it, though, it might actually be pretty solid still. I don't know if it's worth it, though. It might just make you sad to roll 3 sockets in an otherwise not ideal item. Alright, so as you can see... it's pretty self-evident, this build is S tier. This build does not mess around at all. This Worldstone Shard, GG. You'll find another epic item in this video, like we typically do. What item will it be this time, chat? What do you guys think we're gonna find in this video? Sometimes it's a high rune, sometimes it's high rune, sometimes it's an insane item like an S-Steel Carapace. What do you think we're gonna find in this video? Rune? Rune number 10 in the video? Alright, let's do it. Is Sir worth 1.5? Yes. I can answer questions in the chat, so you guys feel free to ask questions and do your thing and have fun. It's not a big deal. This is a live video, which are, for me, the ones that make the most sense.
can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this forsaken camp.
Alrighty. Grim Troll, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the Poison Nova State. Yeah, we need these items badly. So as you can see, you know, you decimate them. You probably don't even need half this damage to destroy the normal cow level, like, no joke. Which means you probably don't even need, like, Bramble. Deathweb's helping quite a bit, because I think cows have 30 poison res, but getting them down to 0 pretty easy. And you're just dropping, no problem. Don't be scared about your life dropping. So long as you're killing monsters, it's actually not as scary as it seems. I'll admit, like, I was pretty scared going into this build, but when I saw how effective the life per kill was, I was like, it might actually be okay as long as you have max block and everything else and max DR. We have gotten kind of low a few times, but nothing too scary, so it makes me think this build might actually be okay. Alright, so yeah. Cow level utterly destroyed. I'm not sure, man. I don't think anyone knows the answer to that question. Kappa. Got someone in the chat asking the hard questions. Where do babies come from?
The order welcomes you.
That's a hard question, man. Alright. Do people want Jaws in hardcore, or are they treated like in softcore? I don't know, man. It's a really sad state for that rune, man. Like, you know, I predicted it would drop to 1, but the truth is, I'm not saying it will drop below that, but it could. It could. I mean, people have so many of them and aren't able to get rid of them. So it's almost like a feedback loop right now where people aren't taking them and people are just stockpiling them. And because of that, the supply, the demand will never meet the supply because the supply is too enormous. So the demand will never ask for more than the supply, which will make the price continue to drop. It's kind of almost, it's almost a meme at this point, but that's how it is. Alright, so that's pretty much it for Act 1 and LOD areas for the most part. I wouldn't recommend doing Maggot Lair or Ancient Tunnels. There's some pretty hefty poison immunes in there. And unless you're using the lower resist version of the build, probably not going to have a lot of fun in there. That being said, though, they're not too bad, and you can skip them if you wanted to, but it's not actually a big deal. Once again, we're not going to be doing key farming, and Arcane isn't... Arcane's actually, like, I would say, halfway decent. There's only one problem with Arcane. So some people might already know what it is. You could actually do Arcane runs with this character. You could. It might be the only Act 2 area I'd probably consider doing. You have as much mobility as a sorceress, but the problem is the density isn't high enough to sustain you a lot of the time, which might end up slowing you down as you have to pick up potions. There's no reason why you can't do this area though. No poison immunes. Kill the ghost, pop the super chest, get runes, charms, gems, jewels, and jewelry. With the arcane power farm. Really GG stuff in general. You think the community is overreacting? I don't know. It's not overreacting, it's the market. So the market's receiving signals right now, right? Not enough people are buying Jaw to make rune goods. Everyone's hoarding Jaws and they're not able to sell them. So long as that situation persists, the price is going to keep dropping because that's how a free market works. So the way free markets work is markets receive price signals from the market. How much of a thing is in the market You know, is there a lot of supply of it? Is there a lot of demand? Is there not a lot of supply of it and a lot of demand in the case of like graphics cards, for instance? If there's a ton of demand and not enough supply, the price starts rising, and it keeps rising until the number of people demanding the graphics card starts falling in response to the insanely high price. The same thing happens to in the case of the jaw room, but in reverse. So if people aren't able to unload their jaw room because there's no demand for it, then people will keep lowering their prices until they can actually sell them. So that's the free market in action right there. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. And it's actually not a bad thing that's how it works, because if you think about it, if the price of jaw never lowered, then no one would ever be able to sell them. If the price of GPUs never rose, no one would ever be able to buy them because there'd never be any of them at all. It would be too easy for people to buy them up, and so no one would ever be able to buy them. So, all in all, it's pretty good stuff. We're doing a Poison Necro tutorial, and here I am giving I guess a macroeconomics lesson. Alright, anyway. LULs! I don't know. It's like macro econ 101 here. Did you know that this wasn't actually a Poison Necro guide, YouTube? It's a macroeconomics lesson. Excellent! Alright guys, make sure to ace those midterms. Come back to me. 2 weeks. Anyway, you can kind of get the idea though. Like, you know, it's pretty solid for Arcane running. Like, honestly, like, it's not bad. It's got high mobility, which is what you want. Doesn't have immunity issues. It can kill the ghosts and get to the chest pretty quickly. So I'm actually kind of a fan, but at the same time, I'd probably just rather use the Sorceress because you don't have to deal with her life draining when there is no density at all in there, so... Yeah, it's pretty rough sometimes in there. Also, Talrosh's mask out of the pit. That's okay. Get that away, probably. What shield is this? This is a Storm Shield. We'll go over the gear at the end, though. Exclamation S2HC Poison Necro, though. If you type that command in the chat, you can pull up his gear. GG. Alright. So... I would honestly not recommend doing the lower cross farm because there's not enough density in there, and since you're doing clickables mainly, you're just gonna waste your life constantly just teleporting like that. It's probably not gonna be the best idea. I mean, I can kind of show you kind of like, so you can do some. You can just see how there's like nothing to kill basically, and you just run out of life. And you don't have any speed boost, so I don't know. Not really the most impressive clickable power farmer in the game, but that's okay. Anyway, next up, that's actually a really good one. Swedish now, nice. Yeah, well, you know what's funny, Quester, is we were telling him this at the end of season 1, and it was downplayed pretty heavily. So I hope maybe he finally understands before season 3 the urgency of correcting this. There are ways to correct this. There are, you know, I've talked about him increasing two-handed bow, two-handed sword alternatives to infinity for Act 5 and Act 1 mercenaries that use jaw runes or cham runes or other runes that are not Gur runes. There's also other things that you can do, such as simply rebuffing or buffing a lot of the jaw runes that were nerfed, such as Faith, Enigma, maybe even a bit more, probably a lot more. I don't know. Yeah, Enigma with all the corruptions in here is pretty sick. But as you can see, this character destroys trap. I actually think this is an amazing trap farmer. Yeah, he just flattened it. There's no poison immunes. You do so much damage, you just flatten trap with it. Travincal is probably one of the best farms in vanilla, so definitely get it on this character. This character can flatten trap, absolutely flatten it. Definitely one of the better things to do if you want to do a vanilla farm on your Poison Necro. Even without perfect gear, it's going to be pretty strong in there. Alright, next up though for vanilla farms is River and Chaos in Diablo. This is actually a pretty solid farm because, once again, there's no poison immunes. The Venom Lords are a bit poison resistant, but they're actually not resistant enough. You can drop their poison resistance, I think, all the way to 0, even with like -50, I think, and I'm at -61. Anyway, Chaos is going to be another extremely solid farm, also one of the best farms, period. So it's not like he doesn't have strong vanilla options in Pit, Chaos, and Travincal. You can even do Arcane if you're feeling adventurous, but yeah, that's another thing I probably wouldn't do is like Stony Tomb. You could do Stony Tomb as well, but it's really hard to find it, so you're probably going to burn out your life doing it. I didn't mention that in Act 2, but yeah, probably not a good idea. So yeah, he just eviscerates like vanilla content once you're fully geared. Like it's just flattened. This is the sheer power of a S tier build here. Like once you get pretty much fully geared like he is. And obviously there's always gear improvements which we can talk about at the end. But once you get this geared, he's a monster. He has no intention of changing anything yet. Well, I mean, like I said, the market tells a different story, right? If nothing changes to buff up Jaw rune words like Last Wish, Faith, and Enigma and things like that, or to re-put Dream back where it was last ladder as well. Heck, even Dream could be back where it was. You know, we talked about that. Those are all Jaw rune words that need help for sure. And I feel like they could do a lot to correct the misgivings here. But if they don't do anything about it, I don't know, man. That's gonna be so frustrating. Playing 3 ladders where Jaw's like garbage, basically, I don't know. It's gonna get kind of stale for sure. I'm really hoping that's not what happens, but we'll see. Alright, anyway, you can see he even destroys the Venom Lords, which have a significant amount. Now, against bosses, we're gonna do this in maps too. Poison Explosion does 40k over 3 seconds, which is technically more damage than, or DPS, than 21k over 2 seconds. I mean, if you do the if you just do the math, right? 40k divided by 3 is roughly what, 13 to 14k per second, right? Yeah. And Poison Nova is only doing about 10 to 11k per second. So it's pretty close, but you definitely see a noticeable DPS difference with the Poison Explosion. Poison Explosion is not as fast as Poison Nova because it doesn't have as much AoE for mass clearing, but it's really good for killing bosses. So using the, sorry, not Poison Explosion, Desecrate. Man, I'm so used to vanilla, the vanilla build. It's Desecrate, okay. Desecrate makes bodies, okay? Bodies can be used for things, alright? But, yes, Desecrate. Desecrate, okay, anyway. Now we're not going to want to do Pendle Skin, because Pendle Skin is usually, I think it's always poison immune, so that's not going to be a good farm on this character, actually, believe it or not. I'm going to actually want to avoid that one. Or Socket a Great Bow, sweet. Okay, so Eldritch and Shenk though get absolutely flattened, so you can definitely just pop in here whenever you want and kill them, no problem. Eldritch and Shenk aren't a max level area like Chaos or Pit or anything like that, but they're super uniques that drop 2 items always, so they can be a nice farm. And without even half this gear, It's a really strong farm for the Poison Necro if you want to play this build. Pretty solid stuff. Once again, it can be hard to get here, and with Charger zombies that are often, I think, poison immune in there. And there's like poison immune ghosts in here, and there's poison immune snakes. Yeah, it's not going to be good to get to like Drifter Cavern. I kind of already figured that though. Once again, not a good key farmer. He relies primarily on teleport for mobility, so not those non-teleport areas are a no-go, but so are the teleport areas because you just drain too much life getting there. Not a great key farmer. Despite the crazy mobility, you would think it would be, but the life drain is just too insane unless you're like constantly using Poison Nova to refill your health. In that case, you end up being way slower than a sorceress, so that's not good. And it's potentially risky. There's a GG drop. Heavenly garbage. Yeah, there you go. That's a good one. That's a good one. I love it. I love it. I love it. I don't know. Should I do like a... No, I don't know. Should I do that? Maybe. Maybe I should do Ancients just to show you guys how much damage this does. It's pretty insane. Kinda scared of Ancient's Way though, because it's got Charger zombies. Not a good monster. I shouldn't be though, I have DRR. Solo self-found death girl. Oh baby. Oh my. What's up, Iced Coffee? How you doing? So you're an emo girl, man. I guess it's in hardcore, so it makes sense. Just to attempt hardcore, you gotta be a little, at least a little bit crazy, right? Crazy player of some kind. It's always a good thing, though. Alright, so... kind of just using my life sparingly. That's okay. We also don't have any, yeah, health potions, which is not good. Is it really just right over here? No, it wasn't. What the heck? Huh. Where is it? I don't know. Should I do that for the content? No, man. It's a guide, man. Stop it. Make it toward 2 jaw equals bird and... Yeah, I mean, I think if a jaw was worth at least a Sarun, it wouldn't be that bad, but... Then again, I think a jaw should be worth more than that, honestly. If a jaw is worth at least 2, I think that's okay. Alright, so... You don't obviously have to, but you can see how much damage we do with Poison Nova. It's pretty insane. And the crazy part is I didn't even use Poison Explosion, so... they just... their health just drains out and they die. Alright, now let's go to another actual farm area, another 85 farm area, the Worldstone Keep. So Worldstone Keep... I highly recommend you actually put on T-Gods before you ever mess with this on this character. I do not have it on me right now, so let's just hope you don't get destroyed by souls. You're already losing life as you're teleporting around, so you can imagine how dangerous that can be. Definitely swap out for T-Gods in here, 100%. dun. Nice, Upper Rizza, sweet! 244 AD, interesting. See, as you can see, you don't care about nothing. You can just keep teleporting. Everything does. Nothing survives his damage to a large extent. One good chunk and it's a Mamma Mia. Yep, that's right. Mamma Mia. So it's not gonna be Mario going down too. Self-explanatory though. Alright, here we go. I'm actually keeping this 4-socketed bow because I think I want it. Anyone else have like a 4-socketed great bow with ED or something? I don't actually need to make a faith in it. He is getting at least 13 aura on it. Then we can use 95 attack speed and we get. Alright, so we do counter poison immunes in here, which is one of the problems with Worldstone Keep. Another thing to mention is I don't actually recommend doing Bale with this character because there's a lot of poison immunes, including Wave 4. And there's often poison immunes as well in Wave 2. And overall, there's just a lot of poison immunes in general. But if you don't get poison immune spawns, Worldstone Keep is a pretty decent farm area. So we're not actually going to do Bale in this character because it's just going to be the mercenary doing the damage. He could do it, of course, but it's probably not worth actually doing it. Use Wisp. Wisp alone probably won't save you, to be honest. It doesn't have enough absorb. Unless you have like really high lightning resistance to back it up, probably not. Alright, so that concludes the LOD farming section. He definitely has some insanely solid areas like Trav, Chaos, and Pit, and of course Worldstone sometimes. And of course Eldritch and Shenk are insanely just broken. Just destroy them. But I would say he's not maybe the most accomplished LOD farmer in the world because the density just simply isn't high enough to sustain this build. You're going to find yourself not using the max potential and the max power of this build in vanilla a lot because when you teleport around, there's not enough monsters to kill. Where this build really shines is in maps. So the unique situation of maps in Project Diablo 2 really makes this build something else. So without further ado, let's start with the tier 1. I would not say this is his best map overall. It's probably maybe even his 4th best map. Strangely enough, I think we're going to be going from his 4th to his 3rd to his 2nd to his 1st best map. So we're going to be going in the reversed order. There are poison immunes in here, but only Oblivion Knights, so it's not a big deal. This map has no increased maximum life, which is nice, so you can actually see his damage, except against the Oblivion Knights. And we can explore it with a pretty high density, for a tier 1 at least. So, as you can see, now we're feeling good. My health is healing up. Density is key when you roll a map on this character, 100%. Some characters do pretty good. Some builds do pretty good. With just a lot of MF, they don't necessarily need density to shine in maps. But this character, the more density, the better. The more density, the more you can abuse your life per kill. Jade Talon, that's okay, I guess. Do maximum damage. There we go. Best item found so far in the guide, Triangle's Helm. Not bad. So, I wouldn't worry about your health dropping a little bit. The key is when it drops maybe, I don't know, 500 below max, that's when you should maybe worry a bit and maybe use a potion or reposition to get more monsters out. But overall, it's Bloodwarp, Poison Nova. Bloodmorp, Poison Nova. Oh, remember Bloodness. Bloodwarp, Poison Nova. Bloodmorp, Poison Nova. And don't be afraid about the auras as well. Auras aren't too concerning unless the monster density is insane and unless the auras are stacked in the case of fanaticism and my aura on top of each other. That's really concerning. Even with your meat shields, you can end up being targeted and take a lot of damage. So I would skirt the edges of those for sure. Seen how much damage this can do firsthand, so I know that even a build like this with max DR and everything else could go down there. So yeah, overall, pretty solid. Nice health shrine. It's convenient. So as you can see, I can just teleport wherever I want. 6 revives are shielding me a bit. And keep up your bone armor too. That's important. You're gonna be taking a lot of hits going in and out of here. Bone armor means you don't lose any damage, no physical damage until they get through it. Which, in my opinion, might actually be the most important defensive skill in this build. To prevent an actual death. Making sure you can shield yourself, you don't get put in hit recovery. And you don't lose more life than you're already losing by using Bloodwarp. Which is pretty key. Alright, calm down, man. So, honestly, this is probably one of the most enjoyable builds I've played. Like, it's pretty awesome how you can just like teleport into stuff and just like blow it up, basically. That being said, if I played a build like this all the time, I might get a little bored because it feels a little too base rolly. Kind of reminds me a lot of a Path of Exile build, like a typical Path of Exile build, you know, like dash, dash, explosion, dash, explosion, dash, explosion. Path of Exile, a lot of the top tier DPS builds basically use a high amount of mobility, like this character. They jump around, they kill everything, they explode the screen. So, it's kind of similar. I don't know if I can really say there's any other build quite as Path of Exile-y as this one. Path of Exile-y. Kind of hard to say, but... Alright, so as you can see, most of the time, we're totally good. And, yeah, this map is getting destroyed. Like, we've already completed half of the map. If you blinked and you didn't watch it get destroyed, well, that's because you did. This character, according to my times yesterday, can complete this map somewhere between 10 and 14 minutes. That is insanely fast. He does not... He will burn through your Horazon's maps if you have, for sure. No problem. I ignore the poison immune Oblivion Knights, by the way. It's not worth having your mercenary kill them. Just maximize the amount of, you know, kills per square foot, I suppose. Get that density. This builds... Yeah, I mean... Possible. Not gonna say that you're wrong, it's possible. Okay. Make sure you keep your bow up and your bone up. Alrighty. Bad if we just get a Trim Helm, but nothing too crazy, right? So, I don't always teleport at maximum distance because I'm trying to, like, get as much poisoned surface area and as many monsters as possible. I might do, like, shorter zigzaggy teleports so that I hit as many monsters and kill as many as possible. If you want, you can actually jump ahead and skip some monsters and not worry about them dying. But it is also better for the loot filter as well, and if you do drop something good, it doesn't make it too difficult to go back and pick it up, right? I don't want to jump too far ahead, I don't think. I don't really think it ends up saving time most of the time. Most of the time. Is the Uber Minion's spawn rate high? I think it's just normal. Could be wrong. Good place to farm as a towel set orb sword. Mephisto, Travincal, Dariel, Ancient Tunnels. Pretty sure Stony Tomb would also be pretty good. Alright, so there's the boss. This character, ooh, another Almanegger, really? Okay. That's pretty rare. I think that's the most rare thing we found. Alright, so Poison Explosion. The boss totally surrounded by revives, kind of like golems with the Bone Necro. This is the second Necro guide we made this season. This is the same Necro, that's my Bone Necro, by the way, so he's now 95, but same one. We got a Bash and Keep Apple, and I'll take those for sure. And okay, Almanegger. Ugh, that's not a very good roll. That's actually a terrible roll. Holy crap. Well, if anyone wants that, let me know, but just let me know in the chat, but that's a terrible Almanegger. The only chance an Almanegger has of being good is rolling good and then getting a good corruption, really. Baby. Get that alert, get it. Alright, so yeah. Here goes the boss. The boss goes down, and this map will be completed in about 12-13 minutes. Obviously, there's still some Oblivion Knights hanging around because you can't kill them, so it's not bad. Now you might be asking, Dark Humility, why don't you use lower resistance to kill poison rolls? Because for a build that kind of zooms like this, it's gonna slow you down too much. Like, stopping to cast lower resist and then killing him. You could do that, but normally they'll still have a lot of poison res, and normally you might not even be able to kill them very fast even if you use lower resistance. So I would say the most optimal way to play this build overall is to use the maps that he's strong in with few to no poison immunes, ignore the poison immunes, and ignore the maps in the areas that have them. That's your best bet, period. Ignore the mob types that have them too, so no reanimated horde, no ghosts. Any monsters that have poison immunes, you know, none of those special spawns, guest monsters that have those. Also, you know, obviously don't have anything like Succubi, because that'll get you killed, but they're not poison immune. You get the idea. Just avoid them, don't do maps that have them, and do maps that don't. That's just the faster way to play the build, so that means you're not going to be playing every map this character, which makes him maybe a little bit less versatile than some builds, like let's say the Wind Druid that we just did. The Wind Druid can do way more maps than this character effectively. That being said, the maps that this character does do effectively, Horazon's a tier 3. I mean, sorry, a tier 1. Horazon's is not... Horazon's a tier 1. Tier 1. So that was his worst map. Did that look pretty bad? No, it wasn't. It's because it's pretty insane. It's his worst map, though, because you can't kill the Oblivion Knights. Which means you're not getting quite as many kills, maybe in some other areas. However, he uses his mobility to jump across the platforms, just like the Wind Druid does with Gust and Enigma Teleport, to make short work of that map. I would say that Wind Druid's better than there, though, because he kills the Oblivion. He kills everything. But it takes him a little bit longer. He's a few minutes slower, so it's pretty close overall, though. Anyway, that's his worst of his best maps. So let's start getting into some better ones here. Let's do some more demos. We're gonna get into stats, skills, and gear, of course. After all this fun stuff. All right, so new game. Next is tier 2. So this is his third best map, I would say. However, as a third best map, this is a lot of characters' best map or in their top 5 in general, so there's nothing too special going on here. There's no immunes in Blood Moon, they're just cows. And ultimately, it's always going to be a strong map for almost every character. There's some characters that struggle a little bit because their attacks don't pierce, like Teeth, for instance. I went over this in the Bone Necro build, but overall, like most builds do pretty well in here. Alright, so this one has 12% increased maximum life, so what I'm about to do could be a little faster, but shouldn't be a big deal. It's pretty close. Alright, so this is his third best map, but his best tier 2. I wouldn't recommend doing any tier 2s except for this one, honestly. Like, it can be pretty painful. I also don't recommend doing any tier 1s. Well, actually, that's not true. Bastion Keep is probably his 5th best map, and it's the other tier 1. That's not Ruins. Ruins is bad because there's too many poison ones. But Bastion Keep's actually not terrible. Bastion Keep, there are poison immunes, the blood maggots, but they're not super dense, so you can actually get away with Bastion Keep as well. But we can destroy the cows. So here we go. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna teleport around and just utterly decimate the cows. The more you teleport, the more you use Poison Nova, the more it just spreads everywhere and kills everything. Honestly, even for a character that's really good in Blood Moon, he's one of the best. It's hard pressed to get a character that's actually more effective at clearing this map, which so many builds are good at this character. Trapsons, of course, come to mind for sure because of Corpse Explosion on Death Sentry, but this is an S tier build as well, just like the Chain Lightning Trapson. And he really shows his mettle in here for sure. So now there's no poison immunes, you can really see just how busted this build can get if you can get the gear for it. I will not lie though, even though it's an S tier build, it is a very expensive build. This is not budget build 101, especially not in hardcore. In softcore, maybe you got some budget build vibes going on, but no, this is not a budget build. What's up, Zodiac? How you doing? Thank you for the questions in the chat. Let me know if anyone else has any questions in the meantime, as I am going to continue to demo and decimate the maps on this character. Our Hardcore Season 2 Hardcore Poison Nova. Also, thank you to Death Be Proud once again for loaning me his bramble. Brambles were harmed in the making of this video, so because of that, we needed to borrow another one. I got trolled really hard. I'll probably post the video on that as well, in addition to this one and some others. But yeah. Brambles were harmed, were not harmed in the making of this video. They were destroyed! Okay, anyway. Next. So once you see some auras on cows, especially when you're amped, be careful. You'd be surprised how fast they can kill you, even with 50 DR, so... that's when you kind of maybe want to slow it down a bit. You don't have to be super aggressive all the time, but when there's no auras and you're not amped, you can be extremely aggressive. Make sure your bone armor stays up in your bow, and you can be as aggressive as you want. Lacerator! Woo! That's hot. Lacerator, baby. I haven't seen that item in a while, actually. Hey, another Summon Necro Skiller. Wow, that is 2 that were rerolled today, and 1 that was just found out of nowhere. Beautiful. Okay. Cows have been OP. I mean, not really. I mean, they got nerfed really hard. I mean, they're still pretty strong, but they're not OP anymore. Now, cows in a map where you have this much surface area, you don't have to use a word slag, and you can just, you know, have enormous density and teleport-wise. That's in a level 80E area. We're not talking about a level 81 area anymore. Then it starts to get a little OP, right? It starts to break the game a bit. So once again, watch that HP a little bit. Especially when you're around oh, we definitely want those Throne of Insanity maps. I'm a fan. Alright. Fanaticism aura down. Teleport with confidence. And now there's another one, so that's not gonna help us. Wow, is that a Vidala's armor? That's trash. No, I am tired. I'm actually running on 3 hours of sleep today, but you know, I don't even feel that tired, so you probably can't even tell. I had a lot of stuff going on last night. I didn't end up starting the stream super late today, but it was still a little late because there's still plenty of stuff to do. Damn, who is cooking? Beef, it's what's for dinner. Is this the other white meat or the other red meat? I think this is the other red meat. See, there's the red meat in the normal secret cal level, and then there's the red meat here. So as you can see, I can kind of just like... I would say it's optimal to find spaces where there aren't cows though, so you don't get put into block recovery. We'll talk about that, and maybe how this build can still be further optimized. When we talk about block recovery. In the stats section. Alright, so this build... Like, it's so disgusting how fast, like, the clear speed in some regards. Oh wow, right on top of me, I didn't even notice. Alright, Poison Explosion. And you're gonna be doing slightly more DPS at Poison Explosion. We already did the math there. We talked about that. Alright, sweet. F Bone Weave, nice. He ripped his 200 FCR Nova Sorkin cows to mana burn. Yeah, I mean, that's how you rip a Nova Sorceress, or any energy shield based sorceress, right? Mana burn. I mean, without mana burn, the character's almost invincible, but if you lose your mana and there's like might auras or there's other auras, right? You know, you can go down for sure. Yeah, we're not amped, so this isn't that big of a deal, honestly. We're okay. Let's still teleport with relative confidence, even in these situations, it seems. Okay. So, Blood Moon maps get destroyed in usually about, depending on how thoroughly you do it, usually about like 15 to 20 minutes. That is how fast this character is. It's a big map, so that's pretty insane. But, you know, if your poison's doing maximum spread, he is gonna destroy everything. Diseases cannot be contained. We know this. What's up, Octo? How you doing? I haven't seen you in a little bit. What are you been up to, my man? Another Almanigger? What the? Huh? Oh, for a second I just thought I thought I found a 15 increased attack speed, 30 ED. Cool. False alarm, false alarm. Scott Scholden said. Ah, look at that. It's a physical man. Alright, that's actually a good Almanigger. See, the other one was pretty trashy. That's actually a pretty good one. That one's got 2 skills, 181 damage. See, the other one was trash, so that's... That one actually might have some hope for it. We'll keep this one for sure. 2 Almaniggers in the making of this video. What the heck? That is not a common item. Yeah, we found a Crown of Ages last night. That's pretty cool. Roll 2 sockets of max TR. Not bad, right? Octo bringing in the heat! Let's go. Yeah, I'm making a guide on my Poison Necro, trying to help people out with the build in case they want to make one of their own. It's pretty insanely sick, but Octo, thank you so much for Xanifying our man. I owns you, making him a member of Zan's attack squad, the Ghost in the Machine. The Arcane Disciples, let's go. Alright, sweet. Always keep one in the chamber. That's right, man.
How may I be of help?
Get him, man, get him.
No!
Octo, never forget your support of the stream, man. Your continued support is awesome. Let's go. 2 Xanifications in a row. Nate greater than, and I owns you, making the members of Xana's attack squad, the Ghost in the Machine, the Arcane Disciples. Let's freaking go. Alright, so really could say no issues at all with clear speed. This character has one of the most insane clear speeds in the game. And despite being a little dangerous because of where you have to teleport, you can make him tanky enough to do this. Wow, +1 there. Plug some water. Alright, that's fun. Love you, man. What's up, guys? Hey, there's Nate. How you doing, buddy? You're destroying the world of hardcore PD2 with a insanely powerful build. This is the world, man. So yeah, the more cows, the better. You might notice that my health doesn't suffer as much when I'm teleporting around giant mobs, masses of cows. I am amped, so I'm being a little cautious around this. Definitely. We might have taken out the Might Aura though now, so I think we're good. Okay. $500. What? Okay, here we go. Alright, so... you're just gonna keep decimating. The demo of this area, though, is almost over. If you're not convinced by now just how crazy powerful Strong is, that's okay, because we're about to get to some tier 3s. And I think the way he clears some certain tier 3s is really eye-opening. Even if this doesn't impress you much, like, well, cows, most builds can flatten cows. To some degree, right, Dark Humility? That's true. And even if this one flattens it maybe more than some other builds, we will do some tier 3s. Octo! Diablo 2 milligram bars. What the heck? What are you guys talking about? It's not that addictive. Well, actually, I lied. So yeah, just make sure to keep your cursor somewhere where you know you can maximize that surface area. Just keep teleporting and oscillating between two buttons. Also, the buttons are close to one another because you're going to be pressing them a lot. If your buttons are like Z and B or something, you might have a hard time here. I like my teleport buttons in general close to my primary skill. So my hand doesn't get strained doing this. I use X and Z, so pretty nice. Synthetic, the aesthetic of the green badge with my pink font. You know, that's not the first time I've seen pink on the green badge. It's pretty nice. I'm a fan for sure. I am a fan. Alright, so extra fast fanaticism cows. Might be a little rippy. Maybe. Oh, a druid summon GC. Wow, that's... I think it's actually two skillers in this map. Alright. It's a skiller map. I'm trying to roll a 4-socket matriarchal bow, by the way, if you're confused. If anyone's confused of why I'm picking those up. True. I feel like a thorough demonstration is often good, you know? If you only show the good parts, you just pick out what you want people to see. I'm not gonna say that's, like, dishonest, but it can be. Depending on how you do it. That's why I give people timestamps. All my videos are basically like, you know, lots of mini videos inside of a larger video, so... Except some of my videos are actually just a mini video, like drop videos and slam videos, but you know, those are easy though. Alright, so, GG. That was about, I think it was just under 20 minutes, maybe almost 18 minutes. So you can see how fast it is. That is insanely fast. You never have to worry about any kind of slowdowns, pretty much for the most part. Even with auras, you know, you can just teleport around them. Still gonna be sitting pretty. Alright, sweet. Alright, so now this is the part where maybe I should slam these. I don't know. No, not slam them. Amarin. Okay, so let's get him. Let's get him. Oh man, rip. Damn, I have been struggling on these, man. I think I've rolled every number of sockets on these since I started doing it, except for 4. That particular item just doesn't want to roll. Damn. It's okay. Dang it! Alright, and now for his probably second best map, I would say. It was definitely his best map in Season 1. When this build first came onto the scene, Season 2 didn't do anything special to make this build stronger. It was already very strong in Season 1, but in one map in particular, which is River of Blood. So I'll show you guys his strongest Season 1 map here. I don't think it's his strongest map anymore, but it's definitely up there. Like, River of Blood has monsters with pretty high poison resist, but as long as you have, like, a lot of negative poison res, like I do, you don't even need lower resist, and you can kill everything. There's 15% increased maximum life, so just like with the cow map, it'll be a little bit slower. Remember when you do tier 3s, especially ones with archers and whatnot, do not use negative block maps are probably the most suicidal stat you can have. Don't do it. Alright, so yeah, as you can already see, he is already carrying this map to ribbons. This is what you guys might have seen in Season 1. If you have seen this build before. So this build is still monstrous. But once again, it's a little expensive. We'll talk about that. I don't think this is the this is not a poverty build, unfortunately. Bone Necro is so much more poverty friendly than this build. Yeah, even though it's maybe a, you know, a few extra minutes added to all the maps, it's definitely safer as well. did play the Space Jam song. I played it for the first, like, 10 minutes when I opened up the stream for Slamfest. It's probably not even a good idea to do that. There is a copyright on that, I think. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it's one of the smaller deals in the universe, but it's not good. But, you know, I didn't record it doing that, so I wasn't recording. It's just like, you know, basic hype song, you know. You guys ready for Slamfest, you know? Alright, anyway. So yeah, I haven't really encountered anything too dangerous yet in this map. No Might Aura or Fanaticism Aura. Knock on wood, maybe you won't actually see any of it, but I probably will. That is a Valkyrie wing, which we got an insane slam on this in the last Slamfest. Aw, 1 skill, 21 enhanced damage. Ooh. If anyone wants that in the chat, though, let me know. So once again, you know, we're not amped or anything. There is Might Aura, though. But notice how, you know, we're tanky enough to where we don't get hit too often, which is really the key to this build. It's not getting hit. River of Blood map. I do want another one of those. I actually do. That'd be nice. Finally, a Stone of Jordan. Nice. I did actually find one myself, actually, a couple days ago. Feels good, man. Alright, so my health is starting to drop too low because there's not enough density around here. So I used a juve. You don't want your health dropping below half ever in hardcore, and most of the time when you're teleporting in a tier 3 map, you don't really want it dropping below like 1200. But, you know, you feel pretty safe in the area you're teleporting in, it does depend a bit. Alright, so here we go. So this map's notoriously dangerous because of the archers, but... Ooh. Oh my god. Let's go finish off Avanos before he gets me stuck again. Also, looks like my bow just ran out, so I might want to take care of that as well. GG. 1 maximum damage. Alright, that's fine. Start on this side again, and then go back the other way. So if you see archers with auras, I highly recommend stomping them as much as possible. Mercenary has Doom, which means that when he attacks monsters, he freezes them on impact. And, of course, on top of that, Mercenary has Holy Freeze, which also slows them down. So, make use of that as much as possible. Remember, I'd use that zigzagging pattern to make sure I get maximum spread. pop them all. Make sure, of course, you don't go too far ahead of the items. Zigzagging is nice, typically. Teleport, Poison Nova, teleport, Poison Nova. The second you teleport, you really want to use that Poison Nova because you could get stuck potentially. Especially with my less than ideal block rate, so. 2 skill Snow Clash, nice. Simon says. Be insane to go after individuals. Yeah, I think they have bigger fish to fry for sure. But it's still, you know, copyright is copyright, so you know, don't do anything too crazy. Can be very protective over their intellectual property. Alright, so as you can see, this build just destroys this map. It's really disgusting, honestly, and this is a 15% maximum life on you, so if you can actually roll one that doesn't have maximum life, it's way more devastating for sure. Once again, Poison Explosion redoes cold damage, so if there's negative res, make sure you have the cold res to shore it up. He dropped like nothing. Holy. Anti-Pog. He dropped nothing, dude. Absolutely nothing. He dropped a Jade Tan Ducris. Wow. Oh, okay. Alright, we need to roll more of these. Sweet. Maybe I should do that today, actually. No. You like when I say that, Zodiac? You're a sick person. Sick person. Oh wow, 891 defense, F4 socketed sacred armor. Okay. Sure. Definitely. Has to be real, I know.
Nova looks strong.
Nova looks strong? Yeah, for sure, man. Absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, we can even, like, you know, train down those nasty archers. We don't really have to worry about too much, so long as we don't stay still too long. Staying in one place is probably the ultimate risk there. The ultimate risk. Yeah. Alright, so we destroyed the boss. And now we're about to complete the area. If you're just zooming, you could do this area in like 10 minutes, but I'd say overall it's usually somewhere between like 10 and 14. Kind of like Horazons, but it's a tier 3 for crying out loud. Not only that, but you can kill like every single monster, unlike Horazons. So this is definitely one of his really strong maps for sure. Oh look, I didn't realize we could attempt to roll on that again. Because we hate our runes, man. Sure. Arafas, yes! Ooh, 38 MF Needle. That might be the best find so far in here. Excellent, excellent!
Can't carry anymore.
Oh. That's amusing. Yeah, see all this inventory Tetris, that's what wastes the most time. Alright, anyway. Pretty insane stuff, though. So yeah, this map got destroyed. You know, it's one of his best maps for a reason. It's dangerous, but as long as you put on the tank gear and the tank stats, you shouldn't die in here unless you know. You should avoid those dual aura situations. Luckily, we didn't have one of those in that map, but dual auras with archers, that can absolutely kill you, so I'll make sure to keep that in mind. Should you do something with it? It's called Diablo clone. Yeah, that's what you should do with it. That's basically it, man. It's a Diablo clone set. Alright, so we have one more map demo. One more map demo, and arguably this is his best map. I'm gonna do a 200% density Throne of Insanity with the heroic mod on it, which is kind of cool. Solid stuff for sure. Honestly, it's pretty solid. His finds in that map. 2 skill Snow Clash, almost a perfect nature run. Good. Okay. Alright. One more demo. Alright, so for our last map demo.
I can't do that.
It's arguably his best map. A new map in Season 2. No percent maximum life. So in here, you should really be able to see just how ridiculous he is when there's no poison immunes. There are some other annoying stats, but they don't affect us at all. Not a huge deal. Increased cast and attack speed, though, is kind of no joke, but we should be okay. Is he Poison Necro or a Bone Necro? Well, he must have just come in. I have very strong gear for both, actually, at this point in the ladder. I've played both builds. I've definitely played a lot more of the Bone Necro still, but we now can do either one. This is Mr. Poison Necro. Alright, here we go. One of my favorite S tier builds. Probably my favorite S tier build. is a bonkers map. Alright, so once again, make sure to watch your health. No maximum life though, you can tell. The monsters are not doing very well, are they? No, they're not. You're getting destroyed. And this is Poison Necro's best map. Throne of Insanity, which is also my favorite map as well. My favorite builds. Favorite map. Go wrong. Teleport with confidence most of the time, like always. Until you're amped and you start seeing some auras. But even then, one aura is usually going to be okay. Here. They are fast. Oh god. Okay, that's even a little scary for me, to be honest. Oh my gosh! Holy crap! Alright, yeah, I knew I was right to be scared of that at least a little bit. Oh man, there's like 50,000 spear ladies all on my aura. Careful. Yeah, well, you know, this is... Even though this is his best map... Well, that's right. There's an increased attack speed in this map. That's why they're going so fast. So they're always fast, but they're really fast in this map. Okay, well... Stats should be fine, it's just... I think what happened there is I kind of went away from my revives. That was a little bit bad, I think. I should have stuck to the plan, you know, just teleporting and jumping. That's how we avoid the damage. Damn, that might have been the lowest I've actually ever gotten on this build right there. I had a feeling though, sometimes you can just tell when you're amped, and you see the auras, and you see the spear ladies, and you see the archers. Sometimes you know when you should just be a little bit more careful. But then again, that comes from a lot of experience playing hardcore. And just playing the game in general, really. In softcore, you can get a pretty decent amount of experience learning that as well. As for me, though, I kind of saw that coming. I knew I was going to take a huge amount of damage there. But, you know, I thought I might still be okay. As long as I don't get too deep in there. That's the key. I got DR. Yeah, the less defense isn't a big deal because it's most of my defense is from buffs anyway. So I still have like 6,000 defense. Yeah, I mean, tier 3s are obviously the most dangerous scenario for this character, but they're also the best scenario. Which means it's kill or get killed, right? You know, it's a dog-eat-dog world in this build, man. Which is why, you know, when I go over his gear, you can see why it's so important. And if you can't tell why it's so important to have that much DR after seeing that, thought maybe I've been, you know, overkilling it a bit on the DR, maybe the defensive stats. Maybe now you'll see that I'm not overkilling it at all. Like, I think that was pretty, that was a good illustration of why I'm not overkilling it. Oh no. Nope. You need all the defensive stats you can get. If that was softcore, so many softcore would just ripped jumping right into that. Pretty hilarious, but don't be a victim on hardcore, man. Take life by the horns. Hey, what's up, Reckless Abandon? What were the best crafted rings? The best one is an under exclamation drops, but we also got some cannot be frozen leech rings, which are pretty sick. The rerolling of the GCs actually went pretty well. Like overall, I think if you combine the value of all the GCs you rolled, you probably rolled about 8 to 10 high runes of value just rerolling GCs, which is pretty cool. You know, it's funny how like, you know, just picking up those gems is so huge. Just chipping away and getting some stuff there. It wouldn't have been nearly as good, I don't think, if we didn't get that one at the end, but I think our best GC, according to chat, might have been that almost perfect faster run walk max damage arrow GC. Which, I could understand that. Solid build that uses it. Yeah, I knew, dude. If I jumped into that, ooh, wow! The summon Necro skillers today. Jeez, another one, but this one's 20 life summon Necro. That might be our best find of the video. Sweet. Survived long enough to do it. So yeah, as you can see, it's just utter destruction. You know, you gotta... Who thinks that I would have died there earlier if I jumped into that enormous pack of... I think there was like 3 packs of Might Aura Lancers. I don't know, who saw that? I was amped too. Who saw that? Who thinks I would have died in that situation? I might have died actually, which is why I kind of backed off from it. I looked at it, it was like, oh god. I am amped. There's like 50 of them. If they can all get hits on me, I'm probably toast. You probably would have, yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah. Would have died during the demo video. Hey, thanks for watching. You should totally play this build on hardcore. Look how awesome my character did. His deeds of valor will be remembered. Excellent. Happy trails, YouTube. Get it. Almost. Dark humility, are you high, bro? I'm not doing this build. I saw what happened. Not blind. %50 chance you did there regardless. Yeah, probably. That's pretty insane stuff. I got hit by a ton of them right there, though. But I think if I jumped directly in the middle of that and didn't get an insta-kill and got unlucky rolls, I probably would have died. See, that's why amp and auras, you gotta be a little careful. And here, there's very dangerous monsters in Throne of Insanity, of course. Spear Ladies and Archers, no joke. You got both in here. Did a lot of testing in this map. I love this map, but in beta and on softcore, I was dying with a lot of softcore builds in here sometimes. It definitely feels like this map's pretty rippy in general. That being said, though, I've done probably 15 to 20 Thrones of Insanities on him now since playing him a couple days ago. We did worse maps than this one, so I don't know. I don't know. It definitely seems like you could die at some point, though. That would be a very worthy death, I suppose, though. Oh yeah, well it's not about it stopping coming, it's the danger level of the monsters, in my opinion. The density is one thing for sure, which is incredible on this map, but I don't know. Man, look at that. We actually got... That is 4 summon Necro Skillers today. One rolled... We found one in a Blood Moon in this video. We found a 20 lifer just now, and then we rolled 2 earlier with the P-Gems. Wow. I haven't made a summon Necro, but... Want to trade? Sure. Do you want to buy them all? You can buy them all if you want. Buy me out! Is this stream always PG? No, it's not. What are you talking about, bro? There's plenty of PG stream options out there if you only want it PG. Of course, I know you're just trolling because I didn't say anything, so... We also have a Rainbow Facet chat, right? Rainbow Facet, guess it. 3 to 5% damage. -3 to -5 res. Yeah, that was really spicy. I saw that and I was like, holy... We're talking like 40% increased attack speed and all those things too. Yeah, I backed up from that one. Sometimes you gotta know when to back the F up.
I can't carry anymore.
No. Wow.
I can't carry anymore.
Jeez. Okay, so there's lots of stuff dropping in here. It's a very dense map. It hasn't been corrupted, but it even got heroic on it, so it's pretty insane.
I'm overburdened.
I could have corrupted it. I did corrupt a bunch of maps the other day. Okay, this is rigged. This is actually rigged. What? Huh? Well, that shit is fascinating. Fascinating. Alright, 3 to -5, 3 to 5% damage. Fire, poison, cold, lightning. We just found a 5th summon skiller. Okay. I'm gonna find a full summon inventory today. Anyone want to make a summoner? Time is now. Okay, I don't know if we've done any of the insane yet. Give me a Vex for all the summon GCs. Let me count that up in my head here. Maybe a little bit more, actually. You might actually need a little bit more than that. It's close, though. I think the life one might be worth a goal alone, which is the problem here. I think so. I mean, it's not a big deal, though. You want to give me, like, Vex plus Ist or something? I'll give you all the summon GCs. Got a whole bunch today. You just want to buy them off me? I'd like to get rid of them, you know. Lots of space, taking up space. 3 Worldstone shards. Yeah. Hey, give me like an extra Istring so I can like make a... How many 7 lifers? Oh, I'll take a 3x3, yeah. 3x3 and a Vexrin. I want a 4x4, man. Alright, so anyway. The most insane part about Throne of Insanity is even with crazy density, we can full clear this area in 15 to 20 minutes once again. We are on target for 100% here. Well, there it is. It's all dead. One little small grotto, I guess I didn't go into, but that's okay. Hey, that's pretty nice drops over there, overall there. Skin of the Viper Magi. Down, buddy. Down, buddy. Did I really want... Ooh, hello. 5/5 Lightning Facet. Might be one of my better facets I found this ladder. It's honestly been a struggle most of the time. Your Trapson needs that. Does she though? I'm trying to think. I already have pretty good facets in my Griffins. I don't think so, actually. Damn, GG. Yeah, 5/5 Lightning Facet. Trapson needs it? Maybe. I don't know. I feel like the facets that she's using are already pretty strong. I mean, she uses... Her Chain Lightning Sentry is already insanely strong, and she mostly just uses Death Sentry anyway once she gets going, so... I don't know. Is that another Velocirator? I mean, that's 2 Lacerators. What's... Yeah, it's 2 Lacerators. I just realized I found 2 of them. Alright, Creambo, make a game. I'll give them to you. I'll give them to you. Gotta make a game though. I have a ton of summon Necro GCs all of a sudden. I don't have any plans to make a summon Necro this ladder, so someone actually wants them. That actually helps out quite a bit. You can go mess around with that if you want.
Good evening.
Alright, chance cards. 36. Oh, that's not bad. And a 100% perfect Viper Magi. Well, that map was sick. Damn. 20 life summon Necro Skiller. Perfect Viper. Perfect Lightning Facet. What the heck? What a crazy map. We almost died in there, but, you know. Sometimes, you know, you have to almost die for science to get the right items, right? Wow. Also, Chansey's, another Lacerator. It's pretty good. I'm actually, I think it's pretty solid. Alright, so. I'm going to go over the stats, skills, and whatnot on this build here in a second. We just finished the demo portion of the guide video. Excellent stuff. Now we're about to get into the stats, skills, and how to build the character. Wait, that's not the right one. Oops, that's not the right one. 1, 2, 3. I just found all those. What the heck? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'll take a 3x3 and a Vex. That's cool. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. All yours, yeah. There you are. And 1, 2. Here you go. I just found all 5 of those today. Enjoy. Easy mode. All right. Hope that helps you out. All right. Take the Vex too. That works. All right. So 20 life and summon GC. 4 times and summon GCs. 5/5 light facet. And yeah, it's pretty insane stuff coming out here in that last map. Okay. You do realize at me maybe that, you know, the content is also keeping items and storing them for later too, so we can have an awesome event called Slamfest. Duh. Besides, this is a, you know, in the beginning of the ladder, this is more important, but it's not that important anymore. And people are looking for items like Templars now. Call that stalling? Why would I slam it? I have to upgrade it anyway. I'm gonna brig it, man. It's gonna go on the brig. Slam for no, there's no such thing. Okay. Alright, chat. So once again, this is an S tier build. You saw his performance. Heck, you even saw his performance amped might against extra attack speed, cast speed, tons of spear ladies. You can see that he can still survive some pretty horrible situations. But that being said, I definitely get the feeling that under certain situations, he could definitely die. So, make sure to watch those auras, make sure to watch the amp. He definitely is not the safest hardcore build in the universe, even with all this gear. So, to stress again. But anyway, let's go over his stats and what kind of stats you should focus on and whatnot. So we got max block. Yeah, I can't spare one at the moment, man. Zodiac, sorry. You just got my last summon GC yesterday. You're killing me. Dude, I found a summon druid GC too. So technically I found 6 summon skillers today. One is this 20 life. I don't even know how, but anyway. Alright. 75% block. Alright, so with 7,000 defense. That's pretty solid, right? 7,000 defense. It's not bad. You can see that it's pretty hard for monsters to hit me. Getting a lot of defense under build is definitely a good idea, which is one of the reasons we're wearing the shield BR, but using Defiance Aura Mercenary and upgrading the DR as well. You definitely want max block on this build in hardcore. In softcore, it is optional, but even on softcore, I would try to get max block. I would just use a slightly different gear setup. Why? If you get max block with faster block rate, you're not spending all your time constantly potting, almost dying, and being put in hit recovery. I think, honestly, max block is solid for a Poison Necro in general. But there's definitely better ways to do it on softcore for sure. Poison Nova damage. I'd say once you hit like 20k plus, that's when you really start becoming a monster. Maybe 19k plus. It's really... the build starts to become really ridiculous around this damage number, so that's a pretty good damage number. You can get around 25k though with better rolls and different things as well though. It's definitely more room for the build to grow still. 156 strength, strength bugged storm shield, so just enough strength to wear the gear, and then the rest of it goes into vitality. Alright, and then of course you notice when my res are maxed, yeah, make sure they're at least maxed, but getting some stacked resin also doesn't hurt, which I think if when I play this build again, I'm going to be getting stacked res. Alright, so, you know, we have stacked cold res. Cold res is really nice to stack because of cold enchant. Stacking lightning and fire is also important as well. The poison helps for maps, but that's about it. That's way overstacked, but that's because of one particular item we're wearing, and there's no way not to have that overstacked. So that's just the way it is. Damage reduction. Flat DR from Defiance on the Mercenary. Act 2 Mercenary, pretty basic stuff. Almost always use the Defiance Mercenary in Hardcore, but not always. You might notice that I also make good use of Act 5 Mercenaries and also be using an Act 1 Mercenary shortly. So there's definitely situations to use the other ones. But overall in Hardcore, it's just free DR and it's really good stuff. 53% DR. So that means it's even stacked for amp a bit. That's pretty huge. Honestly, DR is amazing on this build, and I'd recommend you get as much as possible. If the monsters ever eat through your bone armor, you are going to drop fast. So you need as much DR as possible. And if you want to be confident while amped in most situations, except for like heavy aura situations on top of amp, you're definitely going to want that DR very high, especially in Hardcore. On Softcore, you don't need as much DR. You can go like max block with lower DR, and sometimes you can die and it's okay. But you absolutely need that like cap DR, like at least cap 50%, maybe higher. It's very important for amp stuff. Nice spam, man. Nice spam. Wait, just is that an E? Is that an E? That's a pretty scuffed E though. I don't know. $2,000 GC IDs. Yeah, I know, it's kind of weird. Kind of weird. All right. Well, I just sold them all for a Vex and 3 key sets, so that works. All right. Anyway, what is this? We got. Yeah. So faster cast rate. 50 cast rate. So you don't need a ton of cast rate on this build. You can go for, like, I would say you could go for 75 with a different setup, but that setup is easier to use on Softcore. So 75 is probably the most you're going to be getting on this build ever. But in Hardcore, you don't really need higher than 48, the 48 breakpoint. It definitely feels fluid with the 48 breakpoint. It's not much of a big deal. FCR, because the damage ticks, like, casting the Poison Nova faster isn't actually going to make you do more damage with this ability because it's a tick-based ability. It takes 2 seconds. You can refresh the ticks, but you can't stack the damage. So if you start casting Poison Nova over and over and over on something, it's important to note that you're not adding more damage and killing them faster. You're merely refreshing the tick on it. So it's still the same amount of damage over 2 seconds, no matter what. So the same DPS, no matter what. You can refresh it, but you can't stack it. So more FCR does not improve your DPS on this build necessarily. It is nice, to use no cooldown or almost no cooldown Blood Warp, but FCR is not insanely important. I think if you go below 48 FCR though, you start hurting for FCR a bit, and your wind-up time on the Poison Nova starts getting kind of slow, though. So I'd try to stick at least 48 if you can. Not insanely important, though. You might even be able to go down to 30. It might not even be that bad. 56 FHR. That's pretty high for a build with max block. Normally, you might notice most of my builds, I don't prioritize this stat at all, but one of my items in particular is a must for this build. It's the same thing stacking my Poison Res. So, it's not a bad thing, though, given that you're constantly teleporting in the middle of monsters. At some point, you might lose your bone armor, and enough monsters might hit you to where you're being put in hit recovery. So, it's not a bad thing to have a decent amount of FHR on this build, so that's actually not bad. I do like the fact that we're able to at least hit 56. That's pretty cool. I don't know how essential it is, but it's pretty good. It definitely going to keep you alive in some bad scenarios. Block rate 35%. So one thing to note is this is actually a little bit low. On Hardcore, I'd actually recommend hitting at least 52 block rate. So this is actually a pain point for my build currently because I'm maybe not using the most optimal gear. We'll talk about that. Block rate at 52 would be really nice. That saving that extra frame when you block would make the build a little bit more fluid, and you wouldn't get stuck. I don't get stuck very often at all because I make sure to teleport in empty areas, but it definitely prevents stuck scenarios, and that's very important for avoiding possible death scenarios as well. So just that one extra frame would be nice. So hitting a 52 block frame instead of the 32 block frame, going up just one frame would actually not be a bad idea here. I am not currently doing that though, so that, I mean, it's working, but you know, there's definitely some signs that that could help quite a bit. Magic Find. Honestly, I would prioritize survivability over any Magic Find on him. He kills monsters so fast in maps, and maps grant somewhere between 100 to 150 Magic Find, maybe even 160, especially in those tier 3s that you're normally going to be doing on this character. So 130 base Magic Find is actually really strong, considering that you're going to hit 250 to 350 inside of the maps. Well, more like 150 to 300-ish, but yeah. Overall, pretty strong. He's already hitting plenty of MF. He's finding all kinds of nice items, as you probably saw in this demo video here, so it's not like he's going to be killing for it. But that being said, on softcore, you can probably stack more MF more comfortably, so yeah. Anyways, that's kind of an overview of the stats and maybe where you should be at, where I'm at, and everything else as well. Good stuff overall. Definitely not one of my higher MF builds, but that's okay because, like I said, because you're mostly doing mapping on this character, your MF's going to be decent anyway. You'll be hitting at least decent values before the diminishing returns really start kicking in. Interesting. Sounds like you need to whitelist it on your antivirus, sir. Okay. It was. Alright, so. It is already. I don't know what to say exactly. It sounds like it. Definitely one of those situations. Alright, so. Let's go over the skills. So, skills. This build's pretty straightforward in my mind. You thrive on that density, you thrive on mobility, and you thrive on the damage. Definitely going to be maxing out all the synergies, including Desecrate, which is used for boss killing. So you're gonna max out all these abilities. We got level 42 Poison Nova at the moment, by the way. Not too important because of all the percent poison damage and negative poison reds that really makes it pop. But yeah, it's the base damage number is pretty insane just by itself, and you can definitely see it. It's pretty insane stuff. You got max Desecrate, max Poison Dagger, max Poison Nova. You get all the synergies and you get all the damage. That's what you want. I would also recommend putting at least 1 point into Bone Armor in the Poison and Bone skill tree. That being said, I think putting points into Bone Wall in order to increase the rate in which you're getting Bone Armor. Synergies are better than taking Bone Armor itself. Which kind of makes sense because Bone Armor is also a synergy for the Bone build, so it makes it too easy if you can do it with Bone Wall. But I like having high Bone Armor. Matter of fact, I would get higher Bone Armor if you can. I think higher Bone Armor is actually would be not a terrible idea. Not a terrible idea at all. Maybe upwards of like 500 damage absorb on it would be really nice. And then something that's pretty huge, the other key to max on this build, I max Bloodwork. Depending on how many plus skills you have on the build though, you might not need to max it. Your key is to hit 0 or 0.2 cooldown. I can only hit 0.2 in my current build, but you might notice that even with 0.2, the cooldown is so short that it's practically 0. So you might feel a millisecond delay, but when you're using Poison Nova, teleport, Poison Nova, teleport, Poison Nova, teleport, the cooldown is already so short that you're not even gonna feel it. It's arguable you might even be able to get away with a 0.4 cooldown on Bloodwork, but you're definitely gonna start to feel that if you want to like move from point A to point B. So, and I've tested that. So, Yeah, 0.2 is a good place, so is 0. You can actually get one more skill into it and then get 0. So if I had a 3-skill Shaco, I'd be at 0 right now. That being said, you probably don't want to go nuts with that. At 0 cooldown is like vroom, 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 and you can just drain your life in like half a second. So in some sense, it's almost better that it's 0.2. I'm not sure, but ultimately, make sure you get this really high so your mobility is high, because that's how this build maximizes its surface area and damage. So, Bloodwort, max the poison skills, the most important things. On softcore, maybe this isn't as important. I'd at least put 1 point into it on softcore, but put some more points into the synergy on Bone Wall. And then I put the rest of my points in revives so I can get 6 revives so I can have some extra tanks for me and the mercenary. I don't know how important it is to have 6 of these. It might be better to put more points into bone armor. Test it. Usually I don't say I don't know to things, but this is one of the things where there's definitely some room for testing. You can definitely like find out, alright, how many revives is it actually worth having versus how much bone armor, how much it's actually going to help you out. So there's definitely some room for additional testing here. I wouldn't go golems on this build though, like with the Bonemancer though, because you might notice Desecrate's actually something you have to max, and it's already a synergy for revive. So you may as well kind of help out your... revives don't do much damage, but I mean, getting a little bit of damage is useful, right? So you may as well use some monster type that's actually like going to be useful. Revives tank really well too. They last an insanely long time, so it's not a bad idea. They could pretty much tank anything, whereas golems can't. Open wounds will kill golems. Open wounds, if it does kill revives, it kills them insanely slowly, and it's very tough for them to die. So it's a very good thing. But yeah, overall, I would prefer revives on this particular build. You can go golems, but it basically means you max out like golem mastery, kind of like on the bone build. But I don't know. I think it's gonna take too many points. It takes far fewer points to get 6 revives out than it takes to get 5 golems out. The golems die quicker, so they're not as good of tanks, and I think that's going to take away from too many points into Bone Wall. Now, one thing to note is that alternatively, so lower resist is a skill. It's the only skill that lowers resistances to poison in the game. There's Conviction only does fire, cold, and lightning. So you can put points into lower resistance, 100%. You can 100% do this, and you might find yourself doing more damage against bosses, which tend to have high resistances anyway. If you want to kill any kind of ubers with this build, that might be the only way to do it, is to like max out lower resist. So depending on what you're doing with this build, it actually might matter quite a bit. You might want to even max it out at that point, maybe even max out Curse Mastery and forget Blood Warp if you're doing ubers or something. Like, it just depends on what you're doing. Since I'm doing mapping, that's kind of how the build looks. But you can kind of see how, though, in the maps, I didn't need this at all. You don't need it. If you have to use this, you have to stop, which is bad because that can get you killed, 1. And then 2, it just slows you down in general. Because it seemed like you could already see me just eviscerating everything. With the proper build, you really don't need this skill. And if you find yourself, having a hard time against poison, it means just don't kill them. Don't do maps with them. Don't do maps with reanimated hordes, ghosts. Don't do maps with lots of poison immunes like Ruins of Ajun. Don't do. If there are some poison immunes in the map you're doing, like a couple, like in some maps like Tomb of Zoltan Cool has like a couple. You can do Tomb pretty well in this character as well. I tested that. But yeah, I mean, you can do it, and then you just avoid the poison immunes. Just avoid the poison immunes. You don't have to do it. You don't have to kill them. It takes extra time. It slows you down. And if you stop on this build, that's usually one of the bad things. That's how you die. You might have noticed that's when I took a lot of that damage there. It's when I stopped moving. The fluid motion actually keeps you alive. So I'm not convinced that for mapping lower resist is really the way to go, especially after testing this. I thought it might be. I thought maybe I did this wrong the first time, but I figured I'd test it without it just to see how it felt. And I'm glad I did because it actually seemed to work pretty well. All right. Next up, the gear. So Mercenary is a Defiance Mercenary for that DR and defense. But this is another must-have item. So this build has a lot of must-have items, especially if you're playing hardcore. Let's explain this one. So this one is Holy Freeze and freezes target. So it freezes target. Since your mercenary has melee splash damage, it freezes lots of targets. That's really important. You might notice that I'm able to teleport around and I don't even take damage to my bone armor a lot of the time because the mercenary is simply freezing everything. It's making it very difficult for the monsters to actually hit me or do damage. And this is the key. I probably would have died already without this thing, 100%. You definitely want to use Doom on your mercenary. There are some other options, potentially on softcore, but I would even say on softcore you probably still want to use this because it prevents you from taking block damage. It prevents you from taking damage in general. Infinity, once again, is Conviction. It doesn't affect poison damage, so you're not going to be using that. On Vanilla, you use Conviction, even on a Poison Mancer, but not because of the poison. You use it because of Corpse Explosion, which has half fire damage. So, on this particular build, it's really, really, really important that you can get that freeze target and that Holy Freeze. It's pretty huge. That's probably the most huge thing about this. The rest of it's just kind of like attack speed. So I made sure to get the 75 breakpoint too, so he's freezing at a pretty decent rate. He's got a pretty fast jab there, which is nice. And then he also does a ton of damage as well. He's doing almost 8,000 damage himself, so he's able to kill monsters very effectively immediately around me, which is very, very helpful. He also has 20,000 defense. So he also has a lot of DR, of course, and life leech with the string of ears. So overall, just get those tank stats up, get the attack speed at least at 75 if using a Doom Thresher. Depending on the base, you might need more or less attack speed. Make sure to check those attack speed calculators, of course, and you'll be good. Alright, so yeah, overall, that's kind of stuff you want to know, damage, attack speed, DR, res, and then, of course, Doom. Doom is the linchpin of that build there, 100%. I know Doom is a little costly rune-wise. It's low and ohm. The Cham isn't too bad, but it's rare. I actually found this Cham myself, so that was kind of fun. But yeah, you can just it's pretty expensive for sure, but it's gonna be worth it. All right, so Call to Arms. Little this wall, standard stuff, right? Alright, you just get some extra health on bow swap. Get almost 300 health off that, it's pretty huge. And then this is the most important part of the build. So, honestly, without this item, you really can't play this build how I'm currently playing it. You can sit back and maybe get some revives and golems and kill the monsters on the edge with like Poison Nova or something, but you're not going to be jumping into them and killing them as fast as I'm killing them. Most monsters and maps have a decent amount of poison resistance. You need to drop them as close to 0 as possible, or to 0, to maximize that DPS. So I found this myself. It's pretty cool. You guys might have seen that on stream. I corrupted it. Someone forced a corruption in the chat with 50,000 Xenobites. I got FCR, which is huge because that's how I'm hitting 50, barely. 48 barely. Without having to use too many crazy gear pieces to do it. And it has one -5 for Poison Facet in it, which is pretty sick, and it's ethereal. And ultimately, it's getting over 50 negative enemy poison res on this, so it's a very solid Death Web for sure. One thing to note is that it did roll 1 socket puzzle box, which is kind of sad because it could have been an absolutely absurd item. But sometimes RNG just spits in your face, so it could have been even better. If we had another Poison Facet, you might see us being even smoother, especially in maps like River of Blood, where there's a lot of poison resistance on a lot of those monsters. So it's a little sad that didn't happen, but it's okay. It's not essential, as you can see. Not essential. I would say though to make sure you get a pretty solid Death Web though. Death Web is the best in slot. Period. Nothing else is going to really replace this for playing the build how I was playing it, softcore or hardcore for that matter. Bramble. Oh man, what can I say about this item except that there's a couple of these that were harmed in the making of this video, and now we're using one that's not even mine temporarily. I will have to get another one at some point. I tried to roll 40 plus ones, and instead I just rolled 34 twice, so I ended up selling it to Geed. Someone could have probably used that. Normally I give away free items all the time and as prizes and whatnot, but I was pretty upset that couldn't roll an even, 50% tile Bramble or anywhere in like near 40% even. So less than 25% tile Brambles twice, and I was done. So I sold it to Geed. Geed demands a sacrifice, it's true. But we are using this temporarily. We will have another one. I hope it's going to be an Arcane plate because I don't particularly like the style of the armor. But this is the best in slot armor for this character as well. Kind of like the Death Web. This piece of gear is pretty uncompromising, kind of like with the Doom as well. You kind of have to have it to increase your poison damage by a lot. You might notice if I take it off, I lose 5,000 poison damage. That's a lot. That's like 25% of your DPS right there. And if you lose that, you're not going to be one-shotting monsters as effectively anymore. Even with a bad roll in this, I mean, I did overreact a bit, but even with a bad roll in this, you'd be fine in most scenarios, but you'll definitely feel a bit of a slowdown. One problem with this item is it rolls 30 to 50%. You can get almost there's a whole 20% poison skill damage spread on it. And it's really nice to get a high one as opposed to a low one for sure. So, yeah, good luck, guys. Good luck rolling that thing. I didn't do so hot, but good luck. Good luck to anyone who rolls it. It's going to be nice. So currently I'm using a 42, which is actually pretty nice. It's pretty decent. And, oh, well, I actually kind of like Enigma Gothic plate. I don't really like Bramble Wormhide, though. But anyway, yeah, the poison skill damage is insane. The Thorns doesn't really do much, so I wouldn't focus on that. But this is where all that crazy amount of poison res comes from. Now you might notice between Death Web and Bramble, we have 20 life after each kill. That stat is the important skill. And to be honest, my Death Web didn't roll very high on the life after each kill, so that's not necessarily a good thing. That's not good. That's like the one stat it rolled kind of bad on. The other stats it rolled really solid on, in my opinion, but it didn't roll very good on that. So we only end up having 20, but we end up having 25 overall because I make up for it with my rings, which we'll talk about in a second. So if you get some bad rolls on that, it's okay. If you get somewhere between 25 to like 35 LPK, I think it's going to be pretty solid. But honestly, if I had a little bit less LPK, I would feel it. So it's a good thing I have as much as I do. I feel like you need at least maybe like somewhere between like 22 and 35. I'm at 25 right now. You can definitely do a bit better though. Bramble has a ton. You get infinite poison res here. You get max cold res too, which is nice for tanking a bit. And you get some fire res, which is nice. And this is where my hit recovery is coming from too. So that's all good stuff. It's really doing everything you want it for this build. My overall enemy negative poison res on this build is negative 61. Ideally, you can get it higher though, especially on softcore. If you stack it in your shield and whatnot, you don't have to worry about DR or res necessarily. You can get like negative 80. Up to negative 80 would be useful in River of Blood at least. That being said, negative 61 is almost up there anyway, so they don't have much poison res left by the time I start hitting them anyway. They have a little bit though. Some of those monsters still have a little bit of poison res, and you can definitely get more negative enemy poison res. Like I said, if I got 2 sockets in this, that would have helped out a little bit. And since I'm on hardcore, I probably can't help the rest of it, but that's about the way it is. We'll check that out though. 2 socket, double negative 5 faceted Shaco. Shaco, I think, is also best in slot, but you can also use Steel Shade. Now, Steel Shade would give me the block rate I'm looking for, which is something that I kind of wish I had, the 52 block rate. So you can use like a 2-socket Steel Shade as well, and put some Poison Facets in that. And then you can still get the 2 skills, and you don't get the DR though, so that's one thing. And then you don't get the crazy amount of life or mana either, so you do get a little bit more block rate and block chance, which does negate the loss of life a bit, but Shaco is still very strong and also is very good for Magic Find. So in this slot, I would either use Shaco or Steel Shade. Pretty much your best options on this build, 100%. Steel Shade, we get you that block frame, it still has 2 skills, and you can still put facets in it, so that's nice. Forest Skill Amulet. That's almost best in slot, honestly. Like that's keeping us alive there. That is a crazy amulet. It's pretty. It'd be crazy if you got one. You know, I paid a pretty good amount for that, but just to let you know, that's a solid amulet. 4 skills, 84 life. It's hard to beat that on hardcore, to be honest. If you can get FCR if you want, but it's doing some big things for our damage. Make sure to get as many skills as possible. Get some FCR in your amulet if you need it, and res if you need it. But ultimately, like, just plus skills with something like that is pretty insane. Storm Shield. Alright, so, you know, this is where a lot of our res is coming from, and honestly, it's holding up our res. Without this, our res would be in the tank and it'd be horrible. So, people have said, why don't you poison facet it? Well, it's because if I just lose one my lightning res is all of a sudden horrible. So, and even though my fire res would be pretty horrible too, to be honest, but my poison res would obviously be okay, and cold res would be passable, I think, even if I removed one. But it's a bit of a challenge here. You could do it. You could definitely stick some more poison facets if you can in your shield, even on hardcore, but it's going to be a bit of a challenge. The shield's nice for block rate though, so I definitely recommend using the Storm Shield in combination with maybe another faster block rate item to hit that 52 breakpoint. I wouldn't recommend using Gurks here because I don't think you can get 52 that easily. A 3-socketed Storm Shield with high PDR would be nice. Mine's like low mid, so it's okay. Yeah, overall, all the defensive stats you need for that max block as well. It's going to be pretty huge for all that Riz and max block and DR and everything else. So, pretty much best in slot, I would say 100%. This could be a little bit better. So I could have 4% more poison skill damage on it. You might notice that I actually lose 1.5k damage from losing 11 poison skill damage. So that's pretty significant. If I had 4% more poison skill damage, I guess I would have another like 400 damage. It's like 100 damage per percent, I suppose, on this build currently. So it's not great, but obviously I rolled 30 FCR on it, so I mean, getting that 50 FCR is a struggle. I'm using 2 FCR corruption items just to hit 50 FCR, so it's doing some good work for me. But remember, you can always get some more poison skill damage here or here and elsewhere. And of course, you can get another facet, squeeze it where you can. One thing to note is that on softcore, maybe I should talk about the Dungos first. So the Dungos is also amazing for hardcore because of the FHR getting us to 56. It gets you that huge DR, especially with the DR corruption, the vitality. Dungos is going to be very nice for hitting that 50 plus DR. One thing I should note is that on softcore, I would use personally 3 Piece Trangs on the softcore because you can get negative 80 to negative 90 poison res, which would deal with every poison resistance scenario. And poison immunity, you're not worrying about that. You're just ignoring it. But poison resistance scenario would totally wipe it out. You get that negative 25 enemy poison res with 3 Piece Trangs. And with that shield, you can even get max block if you put in Elds or Eldrins in it, or you can just get max block in general on 3 Piece Trangs. 3 Piece Trangs plus Deathweb plus Bramble is absolutely insane DPS. No, you don't use snake cord. No. Snake cord might be the low tier option, but you definitely use 3-piece strings. 3-piece strings, string belt, string gloves, string shield. However, the problem with doing that on hardcore is you don't have any DR anymore. And yeah, well, I would have been totally wiped out there, as you saw what happened in that previous map. If I had 0 DR, I was done for, 100%. Yeah, you can't do that. Matter of fact, I think Simon says, I don't know if he's still in the chat, but I think he ripped his Poison Necro trying the 3-piece build in hardcore. I don't recommend doing that. I don't think it's enough tank stats. You need more tank stats, 100%. It's not going to be good enough. So you need as much as you can get, and I think taking the poison skill damage on Train Gloves is still insane, and getting that FCR up is still insane. But ultimately, you need to make sure that you get your DR. So. And the block rate on the Train Shield isn't incredible either, so ultimately you're mostly using it for that negative enemy poison res to make it to where you don't even need as much facets, but you can do all that. Like in softcore, 3-piece string is what I would do though, 100%, and I'd be okay with dying here and there. It's okay. Still have max block on softcore, and I'd still be rocking. Maybe get some faster block rate going on my other pieces of gear, and we'll be fine. All right. Life and mana after each kill, especially 3 life per kill, which I think is perfect on a ring. That is really, really nice because our Deathweb didn't roll particularly high life per kill, so more life per kill here. This ring is kind of shoring up that weakness right there, and of course it's also giving us, it's giving us an effective 55 life and strength and life. Also giving us some mana per kill as well. So it's like 10 FCR, 55 life, 3 life per kill. That's good. It's also giving us our 50 FCR breakpoint. So 48 FCR breakpoint. That's all we need. Stone of Jordan. So this one's just shoring up that mana a little bit and giving us that plus skill and more life per kill. So life per kill corruptions on the rings. Definitely shoring up that weakness. It's like we have a max LPK Deathweb without any LPK on the rings now and a Bramble instead of not, so that's not bad. But note that if you had a max LPK one already, my sustain might be even better. So you can definitely have better stats there, and there's definitely better ways to get that. You can definitely improve that a little bit. It could be even better. Cannot be frozen has to be somewhere. Usually the boots are the best place. Once again, been using this item on like every build because it's just so nice to use it. I personally think though that even though the MF is really nice, I would rather use Cannot Be Frozen Water Walks. I feel like that's actually a gear upgrade I should be seeking because I can get more faster unlock, but more importantly I can get my 52 block rate. So Water Walks has block speed. If I get the block speed there, or I get the block speed here, and then maybe use like a 20 FCR ring or something. I actually did corrupt that, but I thought better of it because I needed the LPK, so... Yeah, I don't know. I feel like really the best solution for me on this build, because of how it's currently built, is to get the faster block rate on the Water Walks, and then get Cannot Be Frozen on the Water Walks. And yes, being frozen will slow you down significantly on this build. I've been decrepified, so that does slow you down. Don't get frozen. Don't get frozen. Anyway. Yeah, so that's... I don't know. In my mind, it's pretty much a no-brainer that you're going to want to... you're going to want maybe a Cannot Be Frozen Water Walks. Those are going to be tough to get or find. I self-corrupted these, so we'll see what we can get. Maybe at some point. Alright, but yeah, that's definitely going to shore up that block rate weakness. I think that's how I would do it on this particular build. I'd leave the Shaco and I'd go for the Cannot Be Frozen Water Walks. Alright, so Life PMBDC. We actually just rolled a fresh one today, so he actually got an upgrade. The gear clip, he's still wearing an 18 versus one of the 26s, so that's pretty cool. before you start going nuts in those tier 3 maps, I would definitely recommend that you take care of your life. Take care of your life and get that life up. You drain your life using blood warp, especially when you're not killing high density, and it's really sketchy. Like, it can really just be a matter of just one teleport that can kill you. So, I mean, you saw some sketchy scenarios there, and you can kind of see how fast you can just get popped. You need life, and honestly, these lifers aren't even as good as they get. I mean, this is on hardcore. You can get better ones. If you just focus on this character, you can. And I would just put as much life as you possibly can. Maybe some of them have small charms if you're feeling a little ambitious. I might do that at some point, but I don't know. I'm thinking I might have maybe a little bit of an overcap in life, but it's hard to even say I have one at all because, like, I've definitely seen what can happen. So I think this is solid. You know, your life res charms gonna be pretty nice. You can sacrifice maybe a little bit of life down here for some more MF if you want, but it's very greedy in this build. And of course we got our awesome Geed's Fortune. Decent Necro Torch, once again, another area you can improve a bit more, maybe. And a decent Annie, another area you can improve a bit more. So there's definitely some stuff you can do. But overall, Poison Necro is a solid S tier build. He's not cheap though. Death's Web, second rarest item in the game, tied with some other items. F makes it absurdly rare, but you don't need an F. That's one thing I should maybe mention. You don't need an F. F doesn't do anything. You don't lose durability on it as long as you're not smacking your wand on monsters like this. Of course, you would never be doing that because you have the move only on, so you don't want to do that anyway. But yeah, so a lot of people are like, no, I found an F one, that means it's gonna break. I like to emphasize it doesn't actually happen. I should do that. This is a good build to do that on because I actually have an F wand here and I'm not using it to slap people, so I'm fine. Casting, I never lost a durability on it, and never should. So there you go. But yeah, overall, GG. I do. Exclamation S2 tiers, Magux. S2 tiers. Gonna have more tier lists for you coming up soon, so it's all good stuff. But yeah, so this is the strongest Necro build, period. So if you're going for sheer power, map clear speed, and clear efficiency, and item find efficiency, all of that is strongest on this build. You saw his map clear speed, and honestly, those were some slower maps actually, because I did some harder ones in some cases, and also I stopped a lot because I was playing item Tetris constantly in my inventory. But ultimately, this is the strongest Necro build in the game, hardcore or softcore. It is a very, I would say it's a decently high skill cap to play on hardcore because you have to be constantly vigilant for situations where you can die, and you have to be very watchful of your health. Even with this much tank power, I've gone down to like 500, 600, 700 many times in like a blink of an eye. And and that's against like super nasty packs, but like you gotta be ready for that stuff because with just a couple, you could die. I definitely feel like it's a lot safer on softcore. It's maybe more viable in softcore for most people and for most budgets, but that being said, you know, I've played it for a few days now, haven't ripped. It's definitely seems to be viable in hardcore. You just have to get that life per kill up. You gotta get that DR. Gotta get the defense. You gotta get Doom. Gotta make sure you do enough damage to where you're killing the monsters fast enough to where your offense makes up for maybe your slight lack of defense. You're a necromancer, so you only get 2 life per vitality point. That's why you don't have a ton of health. So you gotta shore that up with bone armor as well. You gotta shore it up with revives, as much possible other mod things to tank damage as you possibly can. You don't want to be hit very often, and when you do start getting hit, it's really bad. So you want to have all the shields you possibly can get, and then it's pretty solid. It's an S tier build overall, which means it's one of the strongest builds in the game overall, in addition to being the strongest Necromancer build. At an S tier build, he does very, very well. We did show the Mercenary Max Grim. We did do that. Exclamation S2 HC Poison Necro. If you type that in the chat, you can view my gear again if you want to. We're also going to put this build guide on YouTube after today, so you guys can check all this stuff out yourself as well. But yeah, we did the stats, did the skills, did the gear. We talked about softcore options, and we talked about all the other hardcore options. GG. This S tier build is a ton of fun, extremely powerful. If you get the currency, or you just find the items to make it, in the case I found the Death's Web, if you get the items to make it, it's insanely fun. I highly recommend it. It just melts things. Just melts things once you start getting that crazy damage. And just note that it could have even more DPS, and it can be even more fluid with slightly more negative enemy poison res, and more facets as well. So it's just there's a lot of potential still, and it's just crazy. But yeah, check out my PD2 guides on my YouTube. I have a whole section dedicated to that on my channel, exclamation YouTube. If you enjoyed this guide, make sure to like and subscribe. Definitely help me out a lot. Totally free, of course. We always try to help out the community here. That's one of my major aims. Hardcore and even softcore, you know, definitely useful softcore information. I will also be posting the map tiers in the description below, and in the first pinned comment. Oh wait, no, actually I'll just post it in the description. No wait, yeah, the description and the pinned comment. I will post the map tiers, the map rankings for him. I did 4 out of his top 5 maps, but I would say, like, there's really only 6 maps you want to do on him, period, and 2 of them are kind of like, they're okay. So the rest of them probably you should just stay away from, because it's too annoying. There's too many poison immunes, and you're not going to be having a fun time in there, especially with charged zombies, which are always poison immune. Reanimated hordes, as they're also called. Yeah, just don't do it. It's not worth it. But anyway. He's got plenty of strong maps, and the fact that 2 of his strongest maps are tier 3s is just insane. Definitely play him. Get to level 99. Also, that makes him an insane 99 build as well, in addition to just standard item farming. So, yeah, try him out. Get on it, chat. GG. We'll say goodbye to the Season 2 Hardcore Poison Necro for now. But it's okay. We'll make some more build guides soon. Remember, you can always catch me at www.twitch.tv/darkhumility, usually 7 days a week of variety Diablo 2 content. Dark Humility, over and out. See you guys later.